Alrighty, let's get back to it now. We're going to do some more archaic work. This time we're going to do some hieroglyphics, unless I die first. Still can't get rid of uh, this nasty sinus infection. Absolutely will not go away no matter what I do. So I'm going to be coughing and wheezing and hacking all the way through this lecture, and I'm really sorry about that. All right, so hieroglyphics. Um, if you are familiar with ancient Egyptian um, civilization, then you know hieroglyphics are the way that they wrote, and they use symbols of things like birds and eyes and tears and reeds to as letters, basically, and words. And I really don't. I've got a degree in history, and which is actually very helpful, by the way, in being creative and creating original art. Having a lot of material to draw on really helps you make new stuff. You don't have to create in a vacuum. But anywho, back to ancient Egypt. That was their form of writing about 3,000 years ago. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create a texture based on their hieroglyphic writing. Now, their hieroglyphic writing was a lot of times done on the walls of temples and stuff like that. Um, so that's where we see a lot of their a lot of examples of hieroglyphics. I don't know if any actual scrolls have survived from 3,000 years ago, back in the original ancient Egypt. Um, I should know that, but I don't. I'm sure everyone else knows that but me. But that being the case, we're just going to create hieroglyphics on some sort of stone surface. Um, I'll be making a video about parchment later on that you could also put hieroglyphics on. And part of this lecture, the actual hieroglyphics themselves, will apply to that, creating and putting those onto the parchment after you've created the parchment underneath itself in Photoshop. Okay, so big surprise here. We're going to go ahead, filter, render clouds, filter, render noise. I said render noise. I said render noise. Medicine is knocking me out. That actually looks good. Okay, I'm not even going to fight with that. Let's see here. Let's go to filter, filter gallery. That doesn't look too bad either, but I want sponge. Ooh, that's a bit much there. Not really for sure why, but I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to leave that out. It's a little bit plain though. It looks a little bit too CGI. We can make it look a little bit. Actually, let's not. I can come back and experiment with that later. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is create a new layer, and I'm going to go ahead and just going to set my colors to default. Filter. Okay. Surprise. Different clouds, and then same thing, but this time we'll go with difference clouds. And this is just borrowing from how to make a rock surface earlier. Yeah, that'll be a good one. I did that about 6 times, I think. And then I'm going to go to stylize, emboss, get a nice rocky texture there, same as before, and then just do multiply. All right, so that gives me a a good rock wall there. Unfortunately, it's got too much contrast in it, so I could either let me try something here. Ooh, no, I didn't mean to do that one. Where's color burn? Oh, right there in front of me. Yeah, that looks a little bit better, but still too much. I mean, that looks like ancient, like King Tut's tomb, rock face wall there. But again, it's first of all, it's just got too much contrast. So image adjustments, brightness, contrast. Use legacy because I'm old. Bring that way down. And it's still way too saturated. So let's see if I can bring that in. Actually, let me keep that there and just bring the opacity down. Save a step there. I'm going to, so much for saving, just save a step. Adjustments, brightness, contrast, just like I had before. Bring the contrast down. And then, just as I had originally planned, bring that opacity down just a little bit as well. Still think it's a little bit too bright. It needs to have the opacity reduced. So I'm going to combine those two layers and then go to saturation. And actually, I'm just going to bring the saturation down just a little bit, then add some yellow to it. Just a skosh. Okay, so that looks kind of like an ancient rock wall. Of course, the next thing we need to do is we need to make sure that this doesn't tile. I mean, make sure that it's seamless when it does tile. And something like this is going to be tiled a lot if it's going to be all over the walls and everything. So offset 400 by 400, hit OK. Same as before, we're going to just erase to get rid of these seams. Put that big plus sign in the middle there. There we go. Check it to make sure that it is not, that it is seamless by saving for web and devices. You've seen this a million times now. And I still clicked on the wrong button. All right. There are no seams there as it tiles. And that is quite important. Okay. Now what we can do is we can start, if we can get that to go away, we can get that to, we can use this as our base rock surface to start writing in our hieroglyphs. I'm actually going to go ahead and combine these layers first, since I know for a fact that they're no longer going to create seams. And then I'm going to load up a hieroglyphics font. Okay. Now it's time to add our hieroglyphs. Now, the way they were written, they could either be painted onto the stone surface of the walls of these ancient Egyptian structures like houses and tombs and granaries and stuff like that, or they could have been chiseled in. And we're going to do the chiseled in look because that's what would have survived 3,000 years. If it was painted on, chances are the paint has faded and we wouldn't see it, hardly any of it at all anyhow. So we're going to go to our type tool, and I'm going to find my hieroglyphs font. I think I just passed it. There we go. And what I'm going to do is I am going to go to the vertical type tool, and I'm just going to start writing in blah, 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 blah stuff. Actually, there's an easier way to do this. Go to my type tool, go to vertical type tool, and then draw out a box, and then start typing. And I am just typing a bunch of stuff. I don't even know what it means. It says eat at Steakfest. I don't know. Anywho, now I must hit the return button here because that's not cool. You don't want to leave any gaps or anything like that. So there, yeah, there's the hieroglyphs. Now, of course, obviously that's just text put on over the background. That's not going to fool anybody. You got to make it look like it's real. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to change the color. Let me see here. Go back to the type tool, change the color to, well, no. That, then bring it down thusly. And you can probably guess what's going to happen next. We are going to do a bevel and emboss. And we want to do, this time, we don't want it to be look so that it's extending forward. We want it to look like it's chiseled in, like I said. So this time we're going to select down for the direction, in other words, away from the camera. Bring up the size. Bring down the size. Actually, honestly, I think I had it right the first time. I do 135 in most cases to get a good notched look. Bring in the depth. There we go. So now it looks like it was truly chiseled in. We can do a pillow emboss if we really wanted. No, we can't. I love pillow emboss, and I'm always looking for excuses to use it. And this is not an excuse to use it. That would be a bad idea. So we'll soften it up just a little bit. Since it's not crisp, it's 3,000 years old. I'm going to hit OK. And that's still editable text, by the way. I can go back to text, character, and I can make that bold, which I should have done in the first place. And now that looks like it's really chiseled into the surface. Now what I'm going to do is, since that is editable vector text, as far as Photoshop is concerned at the moment, I can enlarge that without actually enlarging pixels just yet. Try to bring that down to the bottom and the top as close as possible. So when it tiles, you don't see any lines of empty space appearing. So let's try this now. And you can't beat that at all. That's not, there's no seams, there's no, you just can't tell where one begins and the other one ends. That's your texture right there. Take it, that's pretty amazing. Oh, and the font that I use, by the way, that I recommend is Hieroglyphs font on Font Space. That's what I use. In case you're looking for that exact same font, I recommend it deliciously. So there it is. There is your fonts, your hieroglyphs on a rock wall, like something that Indiana Jones would explore, or something like that. And that's one of my more favorite ones. The very first game I ever made, and this was back in like 1994 in Macromedia Shockwave with FMV, full motion video. You had to walk around this Egyptian necropolis that was covered in hieroglyphic walls, or built with hieroglyphic walls all over the place. So this brings back the memories. But anyhow, I'm about to lose my voice, so that's going to be probably it for tonight.